Really? Not to me, but you know how I am.
Oh, 601.
Okay, I apologize for that, for going all the way out to 6:01. I appreciate your indulgence, everyone. So we're going to call this meeting of the Manitowoc Public School District Board of Education to order, and we begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now you'd be so kind to call the roll.
Christopher Abel.
Here.
Biff Hansen.
Here.
Matthew Phipps. Keith Shaw.
Here.
Matthew Spalding.
I'm here.
Carrie Trask.
Here.
Tony Vostelka. Thank you.
Okay.
You guys able to hear me?
Yep. We got you, sir. Thank you. I will endeavor to keep looking back to see if you do that hand raise thing. But I count on others to clue
I
me
think
in.
it makes a sound, so I'll probably.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. So moving on, the next thing on the agenda is public input. I have, and I'm counting, I think it was four requests for public input. Friendly reminder, obviously, we like it to be polite, relevant to the business of the district. And when you get down to 1 minute, I will give you a friendly one. And of course, if you go slightly over 5 minutes, I'm not an Olympic judge, so I'm not going to shut you down completely. I'll just trust that you're going to wrap it up. So we're going to start with Barbara Post.
Last week's curriculum and instruction meeting, I learned that on October 4th, the district was having an in-person district-wide reframing behavior training, and they will have ongoing refresher trainings. I would like to thank the district, but especially Katie. She works tirelessly on this behavior to get everyone there and perhaps on board to a new or refreshed perspective of viewing and responding to these behaviors. Our world is ever evolving, and so must we. With collaboration and communication, we can go forward. In this light, it is imperative that all personnel take a closer look at themselves and implement the changes that are necessary to make a nurturing, empathetic, and productive learning environment for all. That is true inclusion. I'm very thankful that all personnel was included. And in person, that's huge for Manitowoc Public School District. It really didn't happen much for paras. We had to find out on our own from teachers if we could, because we were hardly ever included. That is huge. I want to say that is very huge. There was also a mention of an after-school Boys and Girls Club program being housed at Washington. Details to follow. I don't know that much about it, but this is another outreach to our community, and that is imperative, that we reach out to the community and know that we are all together. Because we are ever evolving, and we should be to have this outreach to community, we should all be grateful, because we should be ever evolving, not just standing in one spot. Remember, education is never ending. We all learn every day, although not always in the same way. Through positive truth and trust in community, one grows and builds in that community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Barbara. Next, we have Sarah Weinberg.
Sarah Weinberg, speaking as the MEA president. I just want to say I'm hopeful that we are working together with you as the board, you, Lee, as the interim superintendent, Katie, Heidi, Mike, Angela. Thank you for answering all the questions I've had throughout the last 4 years, as well as continuing to work with us. I'm hopeful that we will work together so we can pass some referendums that will be coming up. We have a lot of decisions to make. I know it's going to be a fight. I know we got to get the community supporting us again, and I'm just hopeful that continuing our collaboration will be able to get the community involved and get their support again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Crystal Meyer.
Hi, Crystal Meyer, Chair of Moms for Liberty. I'm here to talk about Title IX. As you are aware, there's an ongoing Title IX lawsuit. The injunction states any school that has a child whose parent is a Moms for Liberty member is exempt from the entire 2024 Title IX guidelines. These are the same 2024 guidelines covered under the injunction, whether you take the gender identity language out or not. Why would any school board member agree to pass this? It wouldn't apply to any of our schools. Coming from experience, school board attorneys tend to be biased and explain things in a way to make it sound good to get board members to agree with them. If you pass any part of the 2024 Title IX guidelines, and once the final decision comes down to dismiss it, be ready to provide an accounting to the parents and taxpayers of what the cost and time was that it took to train teachers, staff, administrators, etc., as they have a right to know how much wasted taxpayer dollars you costed them and how much wasted time you spent on this issue. In this economy, that isn't going to go over well. Common sense tells you to table it until the final decision comes down, but pushing the issue to pass some of it when it will not apply to any of the schools. Not to mention, you could have a lawsuit on your hands, another wasted expense for taxpayers. You have a harassment policy, a discrimination policy. Don't bring up the excuse that we may lose funding if we don't implement it. I too have checked with attorneys. In the 52 years of Title IX, no school has ever lost funding for not complying. So stop wasting taxpayers' money, save yourself a possible lawsuit, and table this until the final decision comes down. Focus your time on other things that need attention, like the repair of buildings, which here we sit. Nothing's happening after Paul and Keith complained they wanted transparency, you wanted public input, schedule a public meeting, and here we are with no action on that while our buildings are falling apart. I hope you use your common sense. Thank you.
And Braden Meyer.
How do I answer this thing? They have a common sense.
Hello, I'm Ray Meyer. I'm the Vice Chair of the Manitowoc County Check for Moms for Liberty. Now, over my time as a student in this district and afterward, there's been a lack of enforcement of a certain policy for both students and staff. This policy should be slightly different depending on whether you're discussing students or staff, but nonetheless, it needs to be enforced. What I'm referring to is the apparent lack of a dress code in our district. When I transitioned from elementary to middle school, I immediately noticed a shift in the culture and rhetoric of students. I was taken aback when I walked up the steps for my first time and entered to hear students talking about intercourse among all the swearing. I would hear something inappropriate practically on a daily basis. It stayed like that through high school. As an example, during my freshman year, I heard another freshman ask if her boyfriend wanted head. When I entered high school, the lack of a dress code enforcement was more apparent. I witnessed students walking around school in booty shorts and reviewing t-shirts, showing off their breasts. During my graduation practice, I walked next to a student who wore a shirt that said, "Practice safe sex." Another wore a sports bra without a shirt as she was talking with a staff member who was walking her down the steps and didn't seem bothered. You heard that correct. A staff member is walking and talking to a girl casually who is not wearing a shirt, only a sports bra. That's still just a bra. All this revealing clothing and talk about sex is linked to the fact that there's a sex-focused culture in America. It's only exacerbated by the fact that there are detailed, illustrated sex books in our libraries destroying the innocence of children. Now look at the opposite end. Over the summer, a Manitowoc public school teacher was wearing an LGBTQ shirt that said, "We are all human," with the word human being in various pride colors. When it comes to being on the clock, representing who you work for, you can certainly be told what to wear and what you cannot wear. If your employer tells you to not wear political clothing when you are working, that is their right, especially when you are working for the public on taxpayer dollars and dealing with children. This is a teacher pushing a political agenda onto students without informing the parents. Not all parents are okay with their children getting into conversations about LGBTQ topics, and children should not be forced into these conversations they may find uncomfortable. Schools should be teaching kids how to think, not what to think. All children do not deserve to be harmed through being subjected to this leftist political agenda. No principal, no administration, and no school board should find this sexualization and politicization of the learning environment acceptable. Protecting the innocence of children is a priority. Enforce a dress code for both students and teachers, and stop pushing politics onto children. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that exhausts the request that I have. Is there anyone else for public input? Anyone else for public input? One more time. Seeing none, we will close public input. Thank you all. And we will move on, gentlemen, to the consent agenda. You see on the consent agenda what we have for consideration.
Yeah, raise his hand.
Yep, Mr. Spalding.
Yes, I just wanted to mention, along with some other of the board members that are not here, I would like to pull 5 David designated the Title IX coordinator from the consent agenda
Okay,
for discussion.
certainly. D.
D. Okay. Surprise.
Okay. Anything else be pulled from the consent agenda? Okay. Seeing nothing else, then I would look for a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda as presented.
So move. Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Before we vote on it, I know it's the consent agenda. I just want to say what a relief it is. They have no teacher or administrative positions that we're trying to fill. Personnel report. Thank you, sir. All right. With the line on that one. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. And we are still in a little bit of limbo on the student representative.
I do have.
You have some information
I
for us?
do. Would you like to do, or you want to do the other from the consent? From consent first?
Oh, I didn't know if we were going to do that along with all the other personnel stuff. But it really
That
wasn't
one-
under that.
Correct, it was just a consent.
Okay, so
appointment.
let's,
Yeah, we
so
can do
then
that.
let's do D.
Okay.
Okay, so are you with us, Mr. Spalding?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take up D from 5 now, designate the equity/Title IX coordinator.
Yeah, so each year we designate the Title IX coordinator. That will be the person who is responsible for handling any complaints
Can I
that
just
come in.
interrupt you for a minute? All I wanted to do was motion to table it, just because we had some more people that wanted to discuss it, and it's just, we're kind of spread thin here just today.
We have a motion to table. Do we have a second? Okay, I don't see a second to
I
table.
don't know why.
Well,
I'm not gonna say.
yeah, we can't discuss on that. Okay, without a second, if you.
Well, I just, well, I just wanted to put Heidi in that position as, I believe I was previously. So we need to have the director of curriculum instruction or one of our teammates be designated to handle any of the complaints that come in, because I won't be able to do that in my current role.
Okay.
That was the reason for the change.
Gotcha. All right. do we have a motion to
Accept.
accept the designee?
I will move to appoint Ms. Schroeder's,
Designate.
designate Ms. Schroeder's.
Okay, we have a motion to designate.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, I would like to
Yes,
just
sir.
say that although myself and the other board members that may be missing would probably agree to this and be an aye in this situation, because of the rest of the board's unwillingness to cooperate on the table, I'm gonna have to vote nay.
Thank you, sir. And I would say, and I do not mean this in any way as a tit for tat, I would simply say that we have to have a Title IX designee or coordinator designee, so that if we get a Title IX complaint, they are the person that looks at it and begins the legal process, because the Title IX timetable is fairly tight. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's why I was
I
not,
totally agree.
yeah, go ahead.
That's why I was just saying, we'd probably be for it. I just, I know that we wanted to have some discussion on it instead of just whipping it right through, so, but either way, I mean, I understand, it'll go through anyway.
Thank you, sir. All right, so any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. So that passes 4-1. And we move on from the consent agenda stuff to, you were going to talk about the student representative. What do you?
Yeah, so I just have, I have a report on behalf of the student representative. Unfortunately, both the representative and her second couldn't make it tonight. You know, they're busy kids, right? So.
Those are the ones that want to do it.
Yeah, so this is the report that I was given. I just thought I'd share it with you. Ellie Reed, his senior, has been reinstated as the student representative for the 24-25 school year. Jocelyn Dumke, a senior, also will serve as the alternate student representative for the 2024-25 school year. Starting in October, the Student Senate School Board Committee intends to invite conversation to meet monthly with between 1 and 3 school board members. They would like to meet the third Tuesday of each month from 9:39 a.m. to 10:21 a.m. in the Lincoln High School Conference Room. We would try to one of the things is saying maybe we could generate a sign-up sheet, which I can certainly facilitate and get to you. In parentheses, would like to try and meet with everyone at least once. Celebrating Lincoln having a successful homecoming week, and a reminder that we have parent-teacher conferences tomorrow at Lincoln.
Oh, and the times again for that?
The meetings, yeah, the third Tuesday of each month, 9:39 a.m. to 10:21 a.m.
10:21.
I think that's during their win or their win period.
Nice even numbers that are.
Right. There you go.
Really.
From 9 to 9?
Yeah.
Oh, 10.
9:39 to 10:21. So say 9:30. Okay, and we'll get something together and send it out to everybody so that y'all can sign up for those. That's when they were meeting last time, as I recall.
Same time.
Okay. All right. So thank you for the student representative report. And now we go to the report of the superintendent.
All right.
Is the student representative going to get?
No, we can't do that tonight.
Okay.
But I do thank you. And you did receive a written report from me. I will be submitting my report in written form. I know that's a change, but I want to make sure that it's documented and out there for all of the public, as well as your digestion prior to the meeting, in case you have questions or concerns. I won't always talk about everything on here, and I'll let you ask questions, but there are a couple things I'd like to highlight. One thing that's not in this written report that is being given to you in the form of a card and an umbrella is Wisconsin School Board Appreciation Week. And I did want to just take a moment in this meeting to publicly thank all of our school board members I don't know if most people don't understand or realize the amount of time, effort, work, and the fact that it's a thankless job that all of you do to serve the community. I want to publicly tell the community that because they may not know this, is that school board participation as a school board member is not a paid position. There is no financial exchange for any of the services that all of these folks are providing our community. Like our policy specifically says, like they get reimbursed for travel to conferences and you get one of those a year if you want to go to WASB, but you don't really get anything. So on behalf of really all of the people in our community, as well as the members of our learning community, both student, staff, administrators, support staff, we just want to thank you for your service and commitment to our district and our community.
Thank you. Thanks.
And that is really a good umbrella. Just
Are you anticipating rain or?
nobody's gonna open it inside. I heard that's
Yeah,
bad.
that's not
But,
Probably because of my fob.
a couple of things just to highlight from the written superintendent report. We are going to bring back area superintendents meetings. We've communicated out to the county superintendents. We're having our first one October 16th here. It's going to be a visioning meeting for our group. The area superintendents feel very strongly that together we can serve as better advocates for public education. Our area, things like the budget, well, which was mentioned in our budget presentation, a large push for a 60%, as they've promised years ago, funding for special education. That would have a tremendous impact on our budget and our taxpayers. Things like that we want to be coordinated with. Following our visioning meeting, the plan will be to quarterly meet and invite legislators to join us so that we can advocate.
At those, in the previous times when the superintendents for the county met, often, in fact, every time there was a legislative representative there, and board members and anybody from the community could go listen and hear the questions from the superintendents to the legislative body. And it was very rewarding. There wasn't a lot of dialogue, but it was a learning experience because you learned what those representatives were saying to you guys. That it was very important. So that's I'm glad you're doing that. That's good.
I wanted to also just provide you all in the community with an update in regards to our facilities. As you know, there are some tremendous needs we have in the district. Beginning on October 2nd, our team is heading out to all of the schools. We've done a few of them so far. We have 3 tomorrow. We'll be tomorrow at Jackson and Monroe in the morning, and then Madison in the afternoon. These are about 30 to 40-minute meetings with information regarding our current state as far as enrollment facilities, what some of those critical maintenance needs are, and then really laying out a plan for how we're going to address those needs. They've been very fruitful. There's been some great dialogue and questions with all of our staff. I'm reminding our staff that they serve as great conduits of educating our community about what our schools are facing in terms of the challenges of the facilities. They've been very receptive and appreciative of that. In October, in addition to these informational meetings at schools, we're going to host an informational meeting for the public on October 23rd at 6 p.m. in the Washington Middle School auditorium. We did choose that location strategically, as it can also serve as an example of where some critical maintenance needs are. All they'll need to do is look at the ceiling and some of the walls in that particular venue. And we think it would be a good backdrop, so to speak, for hopefully nothing drops, but just kidding. But hopefully we have a good turnout from the public to begin to learn about it as well. In addition to that, we will be looking at a special meeting on October 22nd to address the budget, but we'll also likely be ready to bring forward a recommendation to the board as to what we might do with some of our critical maintenance needs moving forward. And we will plan on bringing that to the board that evening. In addition, I also laid out for you that in November and December, our executive team is planning to create, in conjunction with some partners, a comprehensive community survey with the dual purpose of educating our public about our challenges that we're facing, as well as seeking their input for a wide range of things, including but not limited to declining enrollment, consolidation, facilities preferences, neighborhood schools, etc. We're also going to be looking during this time and seeking membership from our schools and community for 2 independent facility advisory groups that we're going to create to begin to not only look at the data that comes in from the surveys, but also begin to investigate possible options that they would recommend to the district and the board. We are going to have those groups run independently on purpose, but we will plan to bring the groups together once their work is completed. I'm not putting a timeline on how long that work will take, but I think if we can organize ourselves by December, we can really begin our work by the beginning of the calendar year. And if we have the survey data to help drive some discussions, as soon as we get that, we're hoping that those conversations can move forward. I'm only estimating, but I mean, and it may be an aggressive goal to have some information that might be useful for the board even by late spring, early summer. In addition, it was addressed in our budget meeting earlier tonight, the issue of open enrollment. And I think it's an issue that we need to talk about because there are certain parts of our declining enrollment issue in the Manitowoc Public School District that we can't control. For example, we're a pretty old county by our statistics. It means there's less kids. We get that. We can't necessarily in the school district control trends with, the job market and things like that. But this is an area with open enrollment that we can control and that we do have a locus of control over. And there's some pretty, in my opinion, disappointing numbers when I look at these reports. I'll give you the one I'm sharing with the staff. Did you know that 114 students who live in the Manitowoc Public School District attend Valders? They have 900 students in their school district. We can do better than that. So what you can plan on from me is not only a report to share the data with you on where we're currently at with that, but also a strategic plan that we'll engage in the next several months to address it. But it's something that is high time it needs to be addressed. Lastly, I'll just share with you, in case you missed it, there is an opportunity for learning together, which I don't know if you saw our t-shirts, but we're learning together every day. And I'm hoping that many of you can join me in Milwaukee for the annual Wisconsin State Education Convention. This is something where, we make arrangements on behalf of all of you, coordinate things. There are some tremendous sessions that can help us. There are many districts facing in our state facing some of the same challenges that we are. And it's always great to collaborate and get ideas from others who may have gone through similar situations. Unique to us, we have 3 secondary school buildings that are all in their 80s or older. There are some districts our size that are going through that right now and or have. And I think it might be a good chance for us to connect with some of the leaders around the state. Does anybody have any questions on my report?
Nice job, thank you. Were we supposed to have signed up for the convention already?
No, all you need to do is let Lori and I know you want to go and we'll take care of it. And I think I just say, because I think things fill up pretty quick.
They do.
So if you do know you want to go and those dates work, get us that right away. Otherwise, I think I just put out a week or two if you need to think about it.
What are those dates?
They're
January.
January 24th. Yeah, January 21st.
January 24th.
through the 27th.
Especially the rooms fill up fast.
We already have 4
I
blocked.
called the day of, and
To
they
get
were
it.
blocked, or they were full, they were blocked. So what's happening is some districts are overbooking. Yeah,
So we don't have rooms or we do?
I have 4 rooms
We
reserved.
have 4 reserved. If we need more, we can get them.
It's the only way you get an infinity pool.
I personally, I like the organization, organizational approach, the whole building thing. I mean, I think that we need to, we just can't accept it. Well, at face value, we can accept the CISA, whatever number they are, report, but I do think that we really need to familiarize ourselves with what's really happening so that we can make proper decisions. And I think it really will influence what we do in order to finance it, I think.
Yeah. Moving on, we have the third Friday enrollment report. Angela?
Yes, there's a memo and board book, and much of the information for the count was included in the budget hearing, so I won't elaborate on a whole lot with this as you get a chance to read it as well. Open enrollment, or the open enrollment out, I said 341 in the hearing, but it was 348, so I apologize. I just wanted to clarify that. We were up 1 student for open enrollment in, and then I had 50 additional out. Summer school count, we went over that already, so that's the declining number there. And at the end of the document, they put just, this is the pupil enrollment spreadsheets that we enter when we do our DPI reporting. And it shows by individual classes, like what the counts are per class. The challenging thing with enrollment that everyone needs to keep in mind is even if you lose 100 students, the hard thing is you don't lose it in just one grade or one area. So that's the challenging and hurtful part about Mike's job of staffing. So it's really, really hard. So I just thought it may be helpful for you guys to see a comparison between 2 years. So the September 24 and 25 are included in that.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yes.
On your first chart, on the first page,
Yes.
where it says weighted count, where the number drops, 242 students from the count for September.
Yes.
Well, but when it drops, is that because that's the averaging out over years? Or when it says weighted count, what exactly does weighted count?
Well, the count is basically due to the fact that we do not get as much funding per student for the special education is at point, you get a half a student for each student that's present there. And then 60% for the 4K and then full days for the kindergarten and first grade. So
Oh, so those numbers are
actually
not people, but
in the main count that you want to look is the count by level for September, in the main,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
I might want to revisit how that's presented because it's a little confusing, so. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Thank you.
I have a question that's related, but is there a way to understand the summer school program? It was changed under the previous administration.
Correct.
A lot less kids. Is there a way to look at that to see if it makes financial sense to bring some of the stuff back that we changed?
We already have meetings scheduled to do that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
really.
We're going to go back to a comprehensive summer school program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay.
All right, we move on to the director's report. And of course, that's a written communication. Does anybody have any questions for our directors? Thank you.
So that concludes your report?
Yep.
Thank you, sir. All right, we will move on then to, section 8, unfinished business. Coming out of the Personnel and Policy Committee recommendation to remove policy 2264 from the table, take it up again. That's what's on here, but the first motion must be to take it off the table.
Move to take it off the table.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to take it off the table. All those in,
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah, all those in favor? Pardon me?
Any discussion on that? It's a motion
On
and a
removing
second.
it from
Do we
the
have
table?
discussion?
Normally,
Wow, it's a motion and a second.
yes, but normally motions to table and remove from table are non-debatable. So once we take it off the table, we can debate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the thing, is because I'd like to keep it on the table. What do I do? Re-motion to keep it on the table? And the reason, I'd like to tell you
Vote
why
against motion.
before we got into that, but it's up to you how you, it's your meeting. Go ahead, run it.
Yeah, okay, so yes, that would actually procedurally, absurdly be the way we're supposed to do it. So all those in favor of taking it off the table signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed signify by saying nay. Nay. Okay, so we have 2 to not take it from the table and 4 to take it from the table. It is off the table. Did you want to discuss it first?
Sure. And the memorandum that I wrote is a couple weeks old, but, essentially, the advice and consent that we've been given from multiple sources, including CISA 7, our district attorney, and Neola, is that if we pass this policy, what we're doing is putting ourselves in a risk-free situation. And as a school district, I think it's imperative that we try to avoid risk. And the risk here, isn't just with funding, it's ensuring that no matter where we're at with the current court injunctions and or the way that our attorneys are viewing the district's situation to be in, the strategy that was suggested was to have both policies on the books. In other words, we have the 2020 guidelines on the books, and now if this is passed, we'd have the 2024 guidelines on the books. What this allows the district to do is if we would ever receive a Title IX complaint, we would take that complaint, we would look at our attorney and say, okay, we received this complaint. It came from this school. Based on where we are with the courts and everything else, how shall we proceed? Shall we use the 2020 guidelines and the old policy, or shall we use the 2024 guidelines and the new policy? Our attorney will take a look at the situation and give us a recommendation. So as a district, we can be confident that under our guidance and counsel from legal, that we're moving forward. Because if you remember, the purpose of this policy is to put guidelines in place, practices, policies, and procedures in place to handle these complaints. I'm also going to remind the board that our attorneys are very clear that these 2024 guidelines offer the district more flexibility than the 2020 guidelines. Let me keep it simple. What happened under the 2020 guidelines is if we received a complaint, we had to move forward with the entire procedure to its end product. The 2024 guidelines allow, who is now Heidi, would be the coordinator of this, she would begin with talks with the people who made the complaints. And if you are able to reach a consensus on moving forward with the complaint, the process can end, right? So that gives us some more flexibility as a district. So my recommendation is that we pass this to allow us to follow the law no matter what it is on any given day of the week. Because right now it's very unclear with all of the injunctions and the challenges. I will say that the injunction specifically coming out of the district from Kansas isn't an injunction on other states out of its jurisdiction. It's an injunction on the Department of Education and those specific guidelines. So our state isn't necessarily, according to some legal opinion, under that injunction. Now, again, that's why we would counsel, if we did have an issue, we would counsel with our legal team and say, for us, given the situation happening at this place, what guidelines shall we use? And then we can feel confident moving forward with their opinion and advisement. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the approach suggested and have both the 2020 and the 2024,
2264.
22. Well, yeah,
Well, the
that's the
2264
number,
is the
yeah.
2024 guidelines.
Yeah.
But we'll keep the old policy on the books, yeah.
Right, yeah, I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second to adopt policy 2264 without it supplanting anything else. Okay, so we've got it open for discussion. Mr. Spalding?
Yes, sir. The reason why, I don't know if you guys remember a while back, we had spoke about consolidating some middle schools or elementary, whatever, and I was for it, but we had so many people that came and spoke at public input to discuss the, that they didn't want to do that, and nobody spoke up about it. So I went with what the public wanted. I changed my opinion and I voted, and if you remembered, we did not do that. It was a 5-2 vote. And the reason being, I want to keep it on the table now, or keep it off the table now, is number one, you've seen a couple of people come up already speaking against passing this. Now, I personally feel that, I did my due diligence, and I feel like the language itself isn't that bad, and I kind of understand exactly what Lee is talking about. However, myself and, we're missing some board members as well. I just figured it's probably best that we keep it on the off the table until some final decisions are made, because that's what our public that came to speak up wanted. And that's my motion. I motion to table it.
No, we have a motion.
He can move to table it
Oh,
in this motion. That is an allowed motion. Thank you, sir. So now we would be looking for a second on the motion to table.
I'll second it.
We have a second on the motion to table. Again, this is a non-debatable motion. That doesn't mean that the person that makes it can't make their argument for why they want it. It just means we can't have a back and forth.
Yeah.
So I would ask for a vote. All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed signify by saying nay. Nay. And that then fails at 4-2. So we are back to the original motion, which is the adoption of policy 2264. Anything on this policy?
So I would just say my comments is, obviously the community is divided about this. As of this report from a few weeks ago, this said Franklin, Jackson, Jefferson, Lincoln, Madison, McKinley. I don't know why McKinley's under there, but there are obviously parents that are not liking the language that's coming out of the update through the policy. The language that's centering around that gender identity is a protected class. Obviously, there's people and there's staff members here that are trying to include that language, which I completely understand why they're doing that, but there's community members and parents that aren't happy with that, so I will be voting no, because I believe that gender identity, how you identify, is not a protected class in the state code. So that's my opinion, and that's why I'll be voting no for this, and trying to represent the parents that believe the same thing, that filed with the Moms for Liberty as well, just to have the injunction in place from the Supreme Court going down south.
Mr. Spalding?
And I'd just like to reiterate, that's exactly why I'm doing it as well, too. I'm trying to go with the public input. We've had multiple people saying, even though we work to get the language changed. It does not matter. They do not want this passed. If we pass this and anybody who votes yes on this is going directly against what our public is speaking up for, and I disagree with it. So I have to vote to keep it. I don't want to not pass it. I just want to keep it off the table until we figure this out, until they figure it out. And I implore you to see, that it's just common sense was what we should do right now.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
I'm going to respectfully disagree because I haven't heard those comments from people that have contacted me. And my concern is this court has no jurisdiction in the state of Wisconsin. That will be decided by the Supreme Court. And now, when you think of that, the Supreme Court, if they agree with them, will let any court in any part of the country make decisions for everybody. So it won't be a judge in Kansas, it may be one in California, it may be one in New York, it may be one wherever, and that decision would then become legal across the country. That may happen or not happen. With the options we're giving, there's two options for us. We're protected both ways. In the attorney opinions that we received, the Moms for Liberty have no standing in this in the state of Wisconsin. So if there's somebody who disagrees with that policy from one of our schools, I understand that. But I'm sure we have parents that disagree on many things, but you can't change everything for one or two or three parents. The Department of Education has stated that there is a hold for Alaska, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, Ohio, Tennessee, Utah, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Those are the areas that this hold happens in. Wisconsin is not one of those. The Department of Education is telling us, you're not covered by this. We are covered, as an interim superintendent said, both ways by our policies. That's where I want to be, because then we're protecting our schools, we're protecting our taxpayers on both sides, and we're waiting for the federal government to make up their mind what we're going to do. This may be the same next year, it may change. A lot of things may change in the next few months, but we're protected both ways by passing this. And that's what's good for the majority of the citizens in our school district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one last comment. So
Sure.
I just want to clarify that the people of this country never voted on this whatsoever. It was created from an administrative state. So the people have not made a choice what they define it. It's becoming through an administrative state that it's being brought down to us. I just want to put that out for clarification. I'm not disagreeing with anything you said. I agree with some of the stuff you said. Thank you for your candor, and I respect your comments.
Mr. Spalding, did you still want to say something?
No, you know what? Matthew covered it.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say that, first of all, I absolutely agree with Mr. Spalding. When you read the language of this, I don't think the language of this is terribly upsetting or shocking. I think it's reasonable and appropriate. I'm certainly going to vote for it, but I'm going to vote for it for the very simple reason, because that's what our lawyers are telling us, is failure to pass this, not passing it, would mean that we are not in compliance with both state and federal law. Has the state ever withheld funds because you're not in compliance? Oh, yeah. Has the federal government? No. But neither of those are the real and legitimate legal risk. The real and legitimate legal risk is if your lawyers have told you this is what you should do, and you do the opposite, and someone is harmed, your lawyers are not on the hook for whatever litigation comes forward from there. You, actually elected officials, are on the hook individually because they have now acted in defiance of their legal advice. So the real legal risk is failing to pass this. Should we need it? Do I expect that we'll need it? I really don't expect that we'll need it. I don't know how many times we've used Title IX since 1974 or 76 when it was passed. So I don't know, but we're not in compliance with the law, and we have a responsibility to be in compliance. If you think a law is wrong, there are avenues to change laws. Yes, one of the choices when you think a law is wrong is to not follow the law. But when you do that, then you have to accept the responsibility for not following the law, just like Thoreau did. He chose not to follow the law and accepted that he was going to jail for not doing it. You cannot not follow the law and accept no consequences for doing that. Unfortunately, here, consequences aren't just to us, but also potentially to the district. So I think the only right thing to do is pass this. And anytime an issue comes up, our lawyers will be the first ones contacted to make sure that we are following what the current state of litigation is for the new rules for Title IX. Yes, sir.
Thank you for your comments. I just want to publicly say that I'm trying to stand up for all the little girls. And if there is an instance that happens that a little girl is sexually harassed, everybody that votes yes for it, and if somebody files a complaint because they were sexually harassed or they were not feeling comfortable because there was a boy in that bathroom with them or in the locker room, yes, everything you just said will be true. You gentlemen can be responsible for that decision of your vote right now. So I will be voting no for this. Thank you for your input.
I stand with Matthew.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right. And that then passes 4-2. On to new business, which is the report out from the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you. In my own.
So we're in the memorandum.
Central office relocation. Okay, here we go.
He should, first thing should be central office
Right.
relocation.
We had a facilities and finance and business meeting in the central office relocation. Mr. Belishka made a motion, seconded by Chris Abel, to pass the committee 4-0 to put a hold on the central office relocation until the full board has been given enough information for the total district relocation and put that in the mix of the total district relocation facilities plan, whatever that plan may be. But to act independently as a central office relocation by itself was passed by the board 4-0 to hold on that and make it contingent upon a long-range vision plan. So coming out of committee, it doesn't need a second, it just can go to discussion and, again, adoption of that motion.
Do you need a motion at all?
So are you looking, you don't have to pass this, but are you looking to move and pass
I'm
the
looking to-
recommendation
Yeah,
to make
the
this part
recommendation
of
from
a
the board, correct.
total comprehensive
Yeah,
plan?
right.
Okay, so that's your motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none? Mr. Shaw?
Also coming out of the facilities and business was a motion by Mr. Abel and Mr. Phipps. The motion, it came out of a 4-0 pass out of the committee to accept the 0 rate increase on dental and 6% increase on the medical plan for the district. Again, 4-0, but bring it to the board for a motion to accept the medical and dental increase rates.
Okay, so we have a motion. Are you seconding?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the medical and dental insurance rate increases of 0 on dental and 6% on medical. Any discussion?
Error was fixed, right? There was-
What?
Remember there was a little error or how you said it?
Yeah,
Remember what we talked about? Was it fixed?
yeah, that was
Okay,
fixed.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. I just want to say I commend our employees because it's because of them that it's at 0 and 6 through their use, which has been exceptional. They are taking good care of themselves and really going easy on use of our coverage. I know people who are in this plan as retired teachers who were braced for 10%, and they are thrilled that it's 6. So to those of you working in the district, even the retired teachers, thank you. Okay? Not me, but the ones that are not. All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Who seconded it?
Bill, I'm sorry.
Who made the first motion?
Mr.
Okay,
Shaw.
I'm sorry.
No, that's a problem. Yeah, opposed, say nay. Or be opposed to 0 and 6%. So, very good. And on to depositories.
Depositories again came out of a committee with a vote of 4-0 in favor of approving the depositories presented to the committee. The motion was made by Chris Abel, seconded by Matt Phipps. We have the depositories were presented, and bringing that again to the board for full approval to accept the movement of those depositories as presented in the committee.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the depositories. We do it every year.
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Hanson. Okay, any discussion?
Just seemed like nothing has changed from the financial institutions that we use, but we highly encourage other financial institutions to reach out to MPSD if they'd like to try to work with us on anything. But nothing has changed in the last year and a half.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, those are adopted. And
Budget amendments. The last thing that came out of the committee was the budget amendment proposals, again, presented to us from the Finance Committee. It was approved by 4-0. The motion was made by Mr. Abel and approved, seconded by Mr. Phipps, to take $2.5 million transfer from Fund 46 and approve that in the full budget report. And again, looking for a motion by the board to approve that transfer.
okay, so we have a motion. We have a second from Mr. Hanson. Any discussion on this?
Angela, could you just clarify that to the public, what that is? Just kind of why you
Yeah,
did
these
that?
are the final budget amendments just to close out the audit for the 23-24 school year. They acknowledge that they're approved by the board.
To balance everything out and finish it.
Yes.
It's the final.
Yes.
Okay. All right. For those of you who don't watch the committee meetings, I did mention that I was getting a little tired of hearing about the 23-24 budget. Nothing against you.
I'm fatigued too, you know.
Yeah, I bet you have budget fatigue. Okay, so I don't see any comments anywhere, so all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none opposed, that will be adopted. Now, did you have anything else for the good of the
We
group?
do have one more. We were supposed to go into closed session, but it was passed by the committee 4-0. Again, Motion was made by myself and seconded by Matt. Thanks for his corrective language. But the committee decided not to go into closed session to discuss the sale of the real estate property. Lincoln has interest in this property. So the motion was rejected to go for a purchase of this property. So just need a board approval that we are not pursuing residential purchasing of that property.
Okay. And we can do that at our next meeting because it's not on our agenda,
Okay.
so we would be violating open meetings law
Gotcha.
if we did that tonight. I apologize. We'll get that on the next
Then
one.
the finance committee business has nothing else.
Okay. My heart
Rejection of offer to purchase.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Then we will go on to the report out from the Personnel and Policy Committee. Mr. Hanson.
Yes, Michael gave a good report on most of our positions were filled. There are some that we still couldn't find. Was that speech
Language pathologist and reading for the Act 20 elementary. Those two positions we tried to fill for months and couldn't fill them. So ultimately, and at the end of the day, with some of the budget concerns, we decided, okay, we're not going to fill it for 24-25. We're going to take those funds and offset some of the budget stuff.
And I know to fill some of the other positions, some of the schools teachers have taken on an added responsibility or more sections of a class for.
Yep, we have, we have a situation at Lincoln High School, couldn't find a math teacher. The math teacher said, okay, we'll farm all 4 sections, we'll do an overload with 1, and that's how we're going to go forward for 24-25. Washington, we couldn't find a math teacher. And by the way, everything I read this year, special education and math teachers were in the most demand. And that played out in Manitowoc also, no doubt about it. Washington, we had a math position we couldn't fill. Brenner principal met with the math teachers, they decided to farm those students out. And then we had a math position over at Spangler we couldn't fill. However, Stephanie decided, the principal there decided that we're going to do Elevate K-12. And my last report from Stephanie was, she said, I really feel good about it. I believe the instruction is solid. Kids are learning as well as they ever have. Those were those 3 situations. We also have 3 situations with Emergence too out there, which is a staffing agency. General music at Madison, special education at Jackson, and English at Lincoln High School. So
we're continuing to work on it.
Not the worst. I mean, we could be in worse shape, I think.
we could be in a lot worse shape if we didn't have, Elevate over there at Stangel, if we didn't have the Emergence situation, if we didn't have the LWS, the license with stipulations situations that we could work through, we'd be like many districts in the state. We'd be in a world of hurt.
I don't know, I hope there's a few staff members listening or principals listening, because this is really the silver lining of what you just said. I mean, this is the staff, the principals, and the staff members coming together and solving those problems long-term. And I think that really speaks volumes of their character. Obviously, they're being compensated through vouchers or something like that, but that means so much that they're stepping up to the plate to fill those voids, to get those needs met. So I just want to say thank you to the staff members that have stretched themselves, and thank you for the principals asking them and having these hard conversations to do that, to get us to where we are today and thinking about tomorrow. So.
And I'd also like to add, for second semester, right now we're applying for 5 internships. 2 at the kindergarten level at Jackson, 1 in LA, and a math at Lincoln, and a math at Washington. Is that 5? 5, yeah.
That's good.
We also had
Successful at those internships, that way we can take 3 students out this class, maybe that person has 15 students for 3 sections. It's a way to make the education as well as possible, as effective as possible.
find talented young teachers.
And if we bring them in here, once you get me going on this stuff, and if you bring them in here for an internship and they do well and they like it here, next year, we've kind of grown some of our own in a way, you know, so that's another motivation for doing that type of thing.
We also had a good discussion on people working from home, and just a reminder that is the administrator's job is to check to make sure they're actually working and doing stuff. But usually that's, in the past, it's been people asking to maybe spend a day at home to get caught up on other work, and it gets done. And if somebody visits it again, it's their administrator who's they're working under. It's their responsibility to take care of that. The other thing I like that Michael brought up at our meeting was sometimes teachers aren't certified when we hire them, but we always try to find people that have had some experience in an area. Maybe they were in a medical field before they go into teaching science. And so there's a state license that you have to get and work on getting that license. But as we were told, it's not just taking anybody from any walk of life and throwing them in a math room to start teaching math. We try to find a career that was somehow related to what they would be teaching the students, and then we help them develop the teacher. So it was a good input that way. Matt?
Could you talk a little bit about the conversation about the in-home, at-home work and then the oversight?
Well, it was, you know, there are some people, especially like during summer, when you don't need the whole staff at Lincoln High School working, that people can stay at home and do projects that they're working on, be it an athletic calendar, be it something from the guidance department, putting scholarships or books together for students next year. They can work and do that at home and not have to drive in. And if the work gets done, it's okay as long as they're productive where they are, rather than having to drive in from, 30 miles or 20 miles or wherever, or across town. But with the environment we're in, sometimes if you can get it done at home, you can keep people too, rather than forcing them to come and sit inside and get their work done if they can do it at home. So, but it depends again, Matt, on what the project is and what the supervisor wants that person to do. If they're working at home and they come back the next day and nothing's done, well, that's a conversation I would have as the supervisor of that worker. But if there's a way to make it easier for them, or if they have a sick child at home and something happens and they've got another project they can work on and we can help out and be a district that does that, maybe we keep people that way too, Yeah.
This is for staff members in summer, or is this for school?
It could be during the school year.
The language is flexible.
But
There wouldn't be.
The majority is probably summer.
But it's mainly
Spending staff.
staff that aren't teachers.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not teachers.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
it'd be harder as an educator to be gone.
It's gonna be. Thank you.
There are certain positions, Matt, that it just doesn't lend itself to. I mean, a custodian can't work remotely.
Yeah, right.
Teacher can't work.
Yeah.
Positions. Well, let me just give you an example. Jennifer just recently, we have to do what's called a Y staff report. And the Y staff report is where you input every teacher, their teaching assignment, and it's got to be accurate, because if it's not accurate, it gets kicked back in January, early February, an error. Then we got to figure out what the error is. So being in the HR office, there's a lot of interruptions. I just want, if I could have a day at home, I could just hit that thing, concentrate on that, and something like that. And Lee brought up another good point. There's sometimes the staff member say, you know what, I'm really not feeling totally 100%. I'm feeling a little sick. I don't want to come in and spread it to the rest of you. I'm going to work from home. Maybe they take a half a sick day and they work a half a day total, during the day. So they got some work done. They were able to rest a little bit. Didn't spread the rest of it. You get us all, the rest of us sick. There's some good reasons out there for that.
The other things we did is we made changes to the non-teaching staff handbook. Most of those changes were the same things that we did to the professional handbook the meeting before. I don't know if we need board approval on those changes, but the committee approved them so let's do board approvals on this.
Yeah,
Mr. Shaw made us do that for his. So I'll go ahead and-
We're required.
Yeah, it's okay. I will move that we adopt the changes to the non-teacher staff handbook.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt those changes. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Hearing none, there you go.
And finally, we have the restructuring of the central office with the appointment of Mr. Tennis to the interim superintendent. We needed to pick up some of his duties by the other people in the central office staff. That is in the report that you were sent. Yes, we are paying people a little more money for the additional work they're going to do. The total of that is $43,050. That's a savings of $55,000 that we will be seeing with those people doing the work rather than the other structure we have. So I will move to approve those changes to the central office restructuring proposal, to adopt those.
Okay. Well, I will second. You've spoken to it. Did you want to say anything else?
Nope.
Okay, as the second, I would like to say that obviously this comes to the board for two reasons. One, there's a financial impact. And the second is because any central office restructuring is required by policy to come to the board. So here it is for you. I think it's a good plan. It's exciting to find out exactly what you were doing now that other people are doing. So just a joke. He's still doing some of it himself. But no, I think it's a very good plan. Yes?
Yeah, I'd like to just say that I think it's another good example of, cooperating for the good of the whole here. I mean, there's not a lot of money going into anybody's paycheck here, but they found a way to work together and to make adjustments, which, there's every one of them had a full-time job. And now, I mean, this in effect they're taking on extra work for, modest compensation. But this was the plan that was developed. It was offered up to us basically as a gift, and I think it's really, a good demonstration of the kind of administration that we have.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
What did Adam do, or what was the role who Adam is?
Adam Vanderbilt?
Yeah,
He's a special education program support teacher. And he is going to pick up oversight of the paraprofessionals, special education paraprofessionals. And as you can see in the yellow down below, Katie will be picking up a number of curriculum instruction topics. And so that's going to come off Katie's plate, that's going to go on Adam's plate. And Adam's with the district a few years, I think. He's an aspiring administrator. So this is an opportunity for him to get some experience. And interestingly enough, I met with him today and we started talking about a few staffing situations and we're off and running.
Yeah, good.
Does that help, Matt?
Yep, that was my question. Thank you.
He was at the parade.
Anything else? Poor guy, an admiring administrator.
Aspiring.
Inspiring.
Admiring.
Aspiring.
Well, this may open his eyes. Okay,
Right,
so,
exactly.
so all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, say nay.
Abstention.
And we have approved, hang on, that's 5 and 1 abstention.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, sir. Did you have
That's
anything
all I have,
else?
Mr. President.
All right, and we will go then to the report out.
Curriculum Committee? Yeah, the only thing, we didn't have anything that requires action at this point. You did get the kind of, the memorandum of understanding. It involves a cooperative relationship with the Girls and Boys Club. We received a grant of $100,000 for a 5-year period to offer an after-school program for students from anywhere in the Monroe Public School District, any school. Anywhere in the county, I guess, that's right. It's anywhere in the county. Yeah. It'll be from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 6 o'clock, and it'll be staffed by Girls and Boys Club staff. We provide the facilities, the technology, et cetera, and the oversight of it. And it struck us, although we weren't asked to act on anything at this point, it struck us as a really good development. The kids that, are finished school at 3 o'clock and their parents don't get home till 6, there's an opportunity for tutoring, an opportunity for constructive activities. The only concern at this point is that we need, and it's all happening at Washington Middle School. But the only concern that we have is that we need 50 students to participate. At this point, I think the number is 24. So that'll require some recruitment or some marketing, some encouragement, I think. But it doesn't seem to me that it's a tough sell.
Gary, is there a late bus if somebody from Wilson wants to go over to it? Is there a late bus?
We talked about that issue. I don't think that's been fixed yet, but certainly there was certainly, yeah.
So, yeah, my concerns obviously is I was ignorant to this whole thing, so I asked, well, where's the Wilson one?
Yeah, right.
So obviously,
If there are kids at Wilson.
she stated that if their barrier arose, that we needed transportation, that we would get to it on an individual basis. So my biggest concern was the equitability of everybody having the opportunity to get this if they needed it. So pretty much by us talking, and one clarification, the grant has stipulation, obviously. So one of the stipulations was the numbers of students signed up for it. So that's why he brought that up. Mr. Tennis would know more of this. However, obviously, if people are interested, they should contact who?
Chad Marker at Washington Middle School, or Athena Martin runs the program. And again, when somebody signs up, one of the questions that are required by the grant is, do you have a transportation barrier? And it's something that we can easily provide if there are students that do have that barrier.
So that's kind of the forego. If there's more information, it would probably be referenced to those two people. But it is a good thing we talked about. And those are the things that I had concerns with, just as Mr. Shaw did. It's a good thing. We just need to make sure that it's marketed and articulated to the community, that it's all students. Age requirement of middle school.
Correct.
Middle school, though, that was the big stipulation. And then I asked a little bit about the Boys and Girls Club at Dewey Street, and I think they were more K through, obviously.
They age out at middle school.
So this is the middle version of the Boys and Girls Club of Manitowoc. It's out of the Fox Valley, right? So, do you know of any other stipulations that?
Yeah, it's really just trying to meet that attendance requirement. I think it's 45. Now, it's not that you would lose funding completely, but if you're not reaching your project or your goals, they would adjust your funding based on what you're getting. So it's a 5-year grant. So we have some opportunities to fine tune and continue to work on that. There's also opportunities to include after-school clubs as part of the programming, which gets some of our staff involved too, which is sometimes helpful in recruiting. Let's say that For example, we talked about STEM opportunities. The robotics club has been incorporated into that. So, the more of those opportunities you incorporate into the programming, the more students you're also counting in your enrollment. So that's another way we're trying to boost that there as well. So yeah, we just need you to pass the MOU and we're good to go.
Is there a way to get after-program busing back to the north side? Could we somehow get the city bus system involved?
We have an agreement with the city. Students with their IDs can use the city bus system, which may be why we're hearing there isn't a barrier, because if people have that option, they can certainly use it.
It's just knowing the bus to take.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I would move to adopt the memorandum of understanding.
Second.
And we have a second. The only thing I'd like to say for clarification for people watching is this program is available to all middle school students in the MPSD attendance area. Okay.
That's the.
Yeah, right.
That's the.
Yeah.
It's not the full county,
Right.
but
Yeah,
it's allowed.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just so everybody knows.
My only concern with comments is, do we have some programming or curriculum that's gonna be presented or on display at central office? So that, it can be out to the public? That's the only thing I'm kind of concerned about.
So the things that they're using for their academics is, they shared with us some of the aligning curriculum that they have. I think there was one for boys and one for, which we can get. The academic portion of their engagement comes from our own students and what they're learning in school. So it's really our curriculum that they're, getting help or working on. It's the SEL side of it. That I think there was 3 different ones, and this is just from memory. One for boys, one for like responsible something or other. So, but yes, there were links to that, and we can get those.
I'm just saying, let's make sure that that's filed.
Yeah, okay.
in Central office.
Yep.
And we are opening up all of our staff development to the Boys and Girls Club employees that will be on hand for this. So they really understand our curriculum and how we're teaching, which I think will really make it work well. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that's adopted unanimously. Anything else?
No more.
Okay, then we have, although we did this at 5:30, it's come back to haunt us. It's the MPSD preliminary budget for 24-25.
So, the budget stands right now in its preliminary form. We have final information we receive a week from today. And then we would make those adjustments along with other adjustments, try to bring down the deficit a little bit more. And then bring forward the final original budget at the special meeting.
So we're anticipating a special meeting in October to do this, or a special meeting post-October?
Well,
Depends on when the
statutorily,
numbers-
we have to approve the tax levy and the budget by the beginning of November, and
Okay.
information is not ready until October 15th, so, yes.
So,
I am assuming, due to just the normal processing of the budget timeline,
okay.
and hopeful, thank you.
Sorry, sir.
I was just I think October 22nd would be a
Yeah.
normal opportunity.
Well, that was the hope for one.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
didn't know if it's still flexible because numbers are iffy. And,
What?
from the state.
Sure,
Yeah, okay, but that's the target,
correct,
is the special meeting in October.
or another meeting,
is-
but
is
we have.
Special budget meeting.
Mhm,
Okay.
yes.
Whee! All right, so there's no action you can take on that, but anybody have any questions?
Do you have any updates or changes from the initial preliminary budget, tweaks that you would like share to
Yes, we're down to, we were able to work as a team between, the open enrollment deficit growing, that was, probably around $500,000 more. We thought that might have been around $1 million, but from the initial projections with open enrollment, but that number itself came down. Then we met as a team and made reductions, just looking at our budgets and evaluating. So we're down to about $325,000 right now, and then of which about 130,000 is wrapped into things that come out of fund balance just because of the processing. So we've come down significantly and make some adjustments and bring that forward one for the original budget.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. We've covered future meeting dates. I've been making remarks right along, so I don't need to do any bonus ones. So now we are going to go to the closed session. I would be looking for a motion.
So going close up.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second, we have a motion and a second. Let me read the official notice. The board may convene a closed session for the purpose of considering the following matter: the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. This meeting is authorized pursuant to section 19.851C of the Wisconsin statutes, specifically personnel matters. Before we take the vote, I just want to apprise everyone, we do not anticipate or have on here any action coming out of closed. So we anticipate coming out of here, we will adjourn. So just so you know what's going to be happening, going on. All right, so we have the motion, we have the second. Would you take the roll call?
Christopher Abel.
Aye.
Dick Hansen.
Aye.
Matthew Phipps.
Aye.
Keith Shaw.
Aye.
Matthew Spalding.
Aye.
Carrie Trask.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes, that's unanimous. We will take about, what do you want, 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then the closed session will begin. So you can leave leisurely. Not you.
Brady, make sure that I can just stay hanging out here.
Oh, my God.